Hello and welcome to this video on creating your own solar eclipse that can be a perfect and safe replacement for the real thing. Unfortunately, this does mean there's no way for you to summon your particular demonic being of choice. A solar eclipse is a relatively simple thing. The moon moves in front of the sun and blocks the sun's light from reaching Earth. This presents as a dark area. This is a truly amazing phenomena, despite the simplicity of it. Something that is taken for granted is that the sun will rise and set with nothing getting in the way except for clouds. An eclipse subverts this for a time and we can see it happening. This is also why it has nearly always been seen as a major event from a historical point of view, whether portents of bad news or similar. Normally, an eclipse cannot be directly observed as staring at the sun is bad, which should surprise no one, but no doubt there is someone who will eventually do so anyway. You can get around this by using lenses, filters, proxies and more, but you still do not look directly at the sun. In most cases, this means you need to either forgo watching the eclipse or find ways around this problem. We mentioned the general solutions to this already. In some cases, and especially where you do not have an eclipse available, an alternative is needed. This is where making your own eclipse is useful. For this model, we have two ways to do so. One is technical and fancy, the other is very basic. We'll start with the basic approach. You need 3 pieces of paper. One with a large hole in the center, one that is a circle or roughly the same size or larger than the hole in your paper. This will be the moon analog. Finally, a plain sheet of paper or a picture of Earth printed on a sheet of paper. You will also need a light source. Something like a simple standard hand torch or lamp works for this. You just need something that will allow you to generate a narrow beam, or a way to close off the light from something that doesn't have a narrow beam. Finally, you may wish to use skewers, popsicle sticks or similar for structure. Now you line up the parts. Your light source, the paper with a large hole in it. Then you need your moon sheet, and you set this to a side. You then need the sheet that's going to act as the Earth. Each should be separated from the others by at least 5 to 10 centimeters or 2 to 4 freedom units. You turn your light source on. From this, you should have a roughly circular light cast on your Earth. This is normally sunlight as it reaches Earth, effectively daytime. Now, you can move the moon in front of the hole in the paper slowly, remembering to keep about 10 centimeters distance. This is just like an eclipse. Eventually, the moon will be in front of the sun entirely and you have an eclipse. With thicker cardstock that completely blocks the light, you should also observe something of a corona effect. If you choose to do this, you can scale things appropriately, so have a much larger picture of Earth and a much smaller moon, and you can see how the shadow from the sun is cast on the image of the Earth as well. So not only can this demonstrate the eclipse itself, but the various ways in which light is moved and the ability to calculate different things, like for example, the diameter of the Earth. The next example is far more technical. It's actually something called an orrery. This is a model of circulating objects, in this case, the sun, Earth and moon. Our model has added a light source to the sun. We printed ours with a 3D printer, but you can either make your own or buy pre-made kits. These can be simple styrofoam balls or CNC routed showpieces. Just like the simple model, we set everything up and turn on the light. Now the model starts to move, just like the paper model. The moon moves in front of the Earth and between the sun. This creates a shadow. Unlike the paper model, this is based on spheres which behave slightly differently. The difference here is that the light goes more around the sphere rather than hitting the flat surface of the paper, so you can, to an extent, see the corona effect somewhat more effectively with a sphere than you can with flat paper. You could also use this same model and you can reverse the position of the moon and Earth. When the moon is in front of the Earth, it is a solar eclipse. When the Earth is in front of the moon, it is a lunar eclipse. The idea is very simple, as is the design, and this is what provides the flexibility and a very cheap demonstration if you want to use it for this. You don't need anything complicated for an Ori either. You can make it very basic version with wire, skewers, and foam balls. Again, you'll need something to act as a source of light, but other than that, everything else is very simple, and we've provided a link in the description below for that. As you can see, making an eclipse is simple, and you can make it as complicated and decorative as you want. There are some differences observed in how the light is affected, but overall, the effect of the demonstration is the same, and it can help to demonstrate some rather awkward concepts if you're not familiar with them or not comfortable in trying to explain them. Thank you for watching this video. If you have found it interesting, consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. Please post any comments, questions, or suggestions you have below.